Picture a 600-year-old manuscript so completely impenetrable that it has driven brilliant minds to the absolute brink of madness. There's no known author, there's no known language, just an impossible, completely undefeated mystery that's survived centuries, sitting silently on a shelf, waiting for someone, anyone, to finally crack it.
I mean, think about the absolute elite of human intelligence for a second. The geniuses who cracked complex, high-stakes military codes during World War I and World War II. People who could decipher encrypted enemy troop movements and literally change the course of global history. Yet, faced with this single, strange, medieval text, they were completely, humiliatingly baffled. They could break the Axis powers, but they couldn't read a single sentence of this book.
Part 1. The book that defeated geniuses. The history of those who've tried to read this manuscript is quite literally a graveyard of ruined egos and shattered confidence.
Just look at this list of failures. William F. Friedman, the guy who led an elite NSA cryptology team, threw his absolute best people at it in the 1950s. John Tiltman, a legendary cryptographer and veteran of Bletchley Park, analyzed it. Both of them took on this book, applying the most advanced analytical and statistical techniques of the 20th century. And they failed. Completely. The manuscript effortlessly resists every single substitution and polyalphabetic cipher, the most complex code-breaking math they had.
The psychological toll this thing takes is very real. Elite cryptoanalyst Elizabeth Friedman, after watching the greatest minds of our era slam into a brick wall, described attempts to crack its statistical anomalies as being doomed to utter frustration. This wasn't just a tough puzzle, it was active psychological torment for the greatest codebreakers alive.
Part 2. Frankenstein Botany and Bizarre Rituals. Let's look at how this builds directly into the physical realities of the book itself, which are deeply, deeply unsettling.
Get this. Carbon dating places the creation of the parchment exactly between 1404 and 1438. To make it, they used at least 14 or 15 entire calf skins. It contains roughly 38,000 words in a completely alien script. And here's the most terrifying part of all. Across all those pages, there are 0 crossed-out words, no hesitation marks at all. It was written with this smooth, unhesitating flow as if the author was perfectly, naturally fluent in a language that simply does not exist on Earth. And the pages themselves? Imagine holding a book where the medieval calfskin is unsettlingly soft. It's a texture scholars note is only found in books that have been heavily, obsessively thumbed by past owners.
And what exactly were they looking at so obsessively? Well, contrast normal 15th century historical texts with the Voynich Manuscript. Normal herbals have recognizable plans for medicine. The Voynich contains absolute Frankenstein chimeras. The roots of one unknown species are literally stitched in ink to the leaves of another and then topped with the flowers of a third. None of them match anything on our planet. It's an entirely alien botany.
Then it gets worse. You hit what scholars call the balneological or bathing section. You are staring at dense, continuous networks of elaborate pipes and tubes that look uncannily like human blood vessels or strange biological plumbing. And floating inside these vessels are dozens of small, nude women, some wearing crowns, bathing in mysterious green and blue liquids. It is an incredibly creepy, utterly inexplicable fever dream.
Part 3. A language not of Earth. Now, what makes those visuals so terrifying is the statistical impossibility of the language itself.
The script, written smoothly from left to right, breaks the rules of all known human languages. It uses a super tight alphabet of just 20 to 25 distinct characters. There's absolutely no punctuation. 0. And the word structure is totally alien. For example, grammatical markers never appear in the middle of words. That might sound minor, but experts will tell you this quirk is completely unheard of for any known Indo-European language. It defies human linguistic evolution.
But then you look at the variation. If you try a single substitution deciphering attempt, it just yields maddening babble. You'll literally see the text read out repetitive strings like or, words that differ by only one single letter repeat with an unusual, trance-like frequency right next to each other. Which brings us to a statistical measure called entropy, or H2. It measures predictability in sequences of characters. Natural human languages are messy, right? They have a certain level of unpredictability. But Voynichese has a shockingly low entropy. It is highly systematically predictable. The rules are so rigid that it leaves linguistic experts terrified by a stark binary. Either this is a masterfully encoded, constructed language created centuries ahead of its time, or it's a monument to sheer madness, the product of an unwell mind churning out rhythmic, meaningless text with horrifying dedication.
Part 4. Madmen, Alchemists, and Emperors. So, who actually owned this cursed thing? Let's track its descent through history.
The chain of custody reads exactly like a Gothic thriller. It first definitively shows up in the 1500s in the hands of the eccentric Holy Roman Emperor Rudolf II in Prague. From there, it passes to a mysterious alchemist named George Barish, who became completely obsessed with it. It then gets sent to scholars in Rome, ends up locked away in a secretive Jesuit vault in Italy, where it sat hidden for over 2 centuries, until it was dramatically rediscovered by rare book dealer Wilfred Voynich in 1912. Today, it sits heavily guarded in Yale University's Voynich Library. And Emperor Rudolf II didn't just buy this book. He paid 600 gold ducats for it. That is over 2 kilograms of solid gold, traded because he truly believed it held the ultimate esoteric power of the universe.
Just listen to this chilling letter written in 1665 by Jan Marquet Marcy. He's describing the alchemists who owned the book before him. Marcy wrote to a fellow scholar that his friend devoted unflagging toil to deciphering the book, and that he relinquished hope only with his life. That is the personalized, tragic descent into madness experienced by those who tried to solve the Sphinx. It literally consumed them until the day they died.
Part 5. The Ultimate Unsolved Mystery. And this brilliantly illustrates the sheer desperation of modern attempts to explain the impossible. Because even in the modern era, people have destroyed their academic reputations trying to crack it. One scholar claimed it was microscopic ancient Greek shorthand. Nope, that was humiliatingly debunked as just pareidolia, people seeing shapes in the natural cracks of drying ink. Others desperately claimed it was vowelless Ukrainian, an oddly abbreviated Latin women's health guide, or a lost calligraphic proto-Romance language. Every single one of these claims has been forcefully and publicly debunked by the academic community. They are all desperately reaching.
So what are we left with? The terrifying reality that it might be a brilliant, uncrackable 15th century hoax generated by an encryption tool called a Cardin grill, a physical stencil used to hide secret messages. Or maybe it's a completely undiscovered language. Or, perhaps most disturbingly, it could be a manic episode of glossolalia, literally speaking in tongues, channeling an entirely invented language, meticulously documented by an unwell, obsessed mind in a trance-like state.
Is the Voynich Manuscript a work of pure madness? An act of sheer genius meant to fool emperors? Or something else entirely? We've studied it with the greatest computers, the most brilliant code breakers, and the most advanced linguistics on Earth, and we still don't know a single word. Look closely at those pages. What do you think it's trying to say?